Every time I come into this room, into this cathedral sanctuary, even when it's empty, as it is now, I can hear the many voices of this congregation. I can see their many faces. This is truly a diverse community of faith. And here we try to celebrate unity in our diversity. Very often my eye is drawn to these beautiful stained glass windows that line one side of this cathedral. At the top of one of them are some words of Jesus, which have become the motto of the United Church of Christ, that they may all be one. And then over the entrance to this cathedral, there are some other words of Jesus as he quoted the prophet Isaiah, a house of prayer for all people. Claremont United Church of Christ is in itself a celebration of many voices, of unity in diversity. Then about 10 years ago, it became obvious to us that the old pipe organ in this sanctuary was irreparable, far beyond repair, and that we would have to find another instrument to express the diversity of this congregation and to keep alive the fine tradition of sacred music, the best in sacred music, for which this congregation is so well known. And that launched us into a search for an organ to reflect and express the many voices spoken by this congregation. And so a search for an organ apropos to this congregation and this cathedral sanctuary began. And we were in for a surprise, because it turned out literally to be a search of many voices. Our principal organist, Dr. Carey Robertson, and our organ selection committee played organs all over the United States, Canada, Great Britain, and continental Europe, searching for the organ that would be absolutely perfect to express the diversity of this congregation. And the organ we finally selected in itself was an expression of many voices: a German builder, a Scottish architect, an American acoustician, an American voicer, a sound system in this cathedral sanctuary made in the Netherlands. It was truly a search for an organ that would reflect and express the diversity of this open and affirming congregation, a congregation of all ages, all races, and all orientations. We believe the organ we chose does that beautifully, and this is the story of that instrument.
This is the beautiful morning atmosphere which inspires us to make beautiful organs.
In 1996, members of the Claremont United Church of Christ made the final decision to replace the pipe organ which had been installed in the main sanctuary. The church is located in the village of Claremont, California, and across from the campus of the Claremont colleges. This is how the church looked in June of 1996, the day before construction would begin. Many projects would need to be done to prepare the room for the new organ. The old organ console was located just behind the pulpit, and the pipes were in the organ chamber behind the reredos. The room would be refurbished both by painting as well as acoustical treatment of the walls. The church chose the firm of Glatter-Goetz, located in Ovingen, Germany, to build a new organ. The plans for the organ were drawn by using a computer CAD program. Thus, the many details of this large project were stored in the computer. The plans could easily be recalled for revisions or to have prints made for the use of the craftsmen as they made the parts of the organ. The creation of the organ began with wood that had been seasoned over many months. Most of the wood you see is either oak or pine. You are viewing but a few of the many jobs done to create the many parts of a tracker pipe organ. And even as the work progresses, plans are reviewed to ensure every detail has been covered. The work continues as the many crafts of organ building are employed. Painting, fitting the legs to the long toe board, assembling the keys to the console, working on the trackers, the sliders for the stops, adjusting the coupler of the console's manual, then after many months of work, the parts are inspected once again and then packed for shipment. Then loaded into sea cargo containers. The journey to the United States begins and would take over 2 months before arriving. While the organ was being crafted in Germany, the home for the Glatter-Goetz Opus 2 was being prepared. Scaffolding was erected to facilitate the work on the walls and rafters. The altar was moved. The old organ was removed, and the area was prepared for the footings needed to support the new organ. The reredos, a work by David Scott, was relocated to the rear of the sanctuary. A new chancel floor to be poured. The rafters painted. The organ chamber was sprayed with a dark green paint. And lighting installed. Then on March 17, 1997, the organ arrived. There were many hands to help move the pieces into the church. The contents of 4 sea cargo containers filled the aisle of the sanctuary and other rooms of the church. A representative from Glatter-Goetz, Heinz Kremnitzer, gave a presentation to members of the church about the organ and helped us understand what we would see happen in the days ahead.
You have a lot of different voices in your organ. And all those, I'm sure that's going to be a question you ask, all those 4,041 pipes I counted yesterday afternoon.
Heinz told us about the 4 main divisions of the organ. They are the positive, grate, pedal, and the swell. When erected, these divisions will be located in the areas where their names now appear. Each division houses many ranks of pipes. One thing was certain, there were thousands of parts that would be put together. Wood pipes, panels, steel beams, and wind chests were all about. The work began by lifting the panels and I-beams to construct the swell. Steel beams are assembled to form the foundation for the swell box. Specially constructed wood panels are put together to create a sound room for the many ranks of pipes which make up a major division of the organ called the swell. Louvers are installed to regulate the amount of sound coming from the swell. Next, the steel beams for the main structure of the organ were hoisted into place. Then bolted down. Wooden columns were hoisted into place, covering the steel beam pillars. The wind chest for the positive division of the organ has been installed, and now the sliders for the stops. The toe boards for the pipes were put into position and secured with metal screws. The wooden casement for the positive was then fitted into place. A special Austrian glue was applied to the wood doweling. Then the casement was fitted into place. And soon the outlines of the positive division can be seen. Rollerboard under the positive wind chest was installed. The steel beams that support the pedal division of the organ were put in place. Followed by fitting one of the chamois wind chests. The casement for the base of the pedal was next. Then some of the trackers were installed on a rollerboard. And the long trackers of the pedal. After a number of additional weeks, the first pipes were put into position. And the console was moved into place. In a few more weeks, the organ was ready to be voiced. Remember this scene? Again, the names of the four main divisions are shown. Let's see what it looks like when the divisions have been completely installed. The swell is behind the screen and not seen. The grate sets atop the positive, the pedal on both sides of the organ. Each division houses many pipes. The many voices of the swell. The many voices of the grate. The many voices of the pedal. The many voices of the positive. The many voices of the organ are powered by the winds of two bellows and a powerful blower. The organ during worship. The organ in concert. The day of completion and dedication arrived. The key to the organ was passed on to the organ committee and the principal organist. It was February 15th of 1998 when the organ was dedicated during the celebration of worship that Sunday morning. That same day, the principal organist, Dr. Carey Robertson, as part of her concert, played a commissioned piece composed by Norberto Ginaldo. A month later, Daniel Roth performed his improvisation of Eagle's Wings and Simple Gifts. Other performances included Dick Hyman playing jazz. David Oliver playing gospel music. Thomas Annan, the young accomplished artist. David Craighead, the master teacher and performer.
For this occasion, for this church, for this organ, and for Dr. Robertson, in fact, because I knew all along that she would be the performer of it. The piece is called Millennial Countdown, and I imagine the title will be valid for another 2 years or so. After that, we'll see if it has any lasting qualities. So please welcome Dr. Robertson and Millennial Countdown.